Hello neighbor, this is Curt with etrailer, and today we're going to take a look at the Westin Pro-E power running boards with LED lights, and we're going to see how they fit and how they install on our 2017 Ford F-250. Now, whenever you have a vehicle with a really high ground clearance like we have on our F-250, running boards and Nerf bars are going to be a great way to make sure you can get in and out of the vehicle safely. So rather than having to practically leap up here like we would now, we've cut that step quite a bit and making it much more accessible. And in the case of the Pro-E from Westin, it's a power running board, meaning as soon as we close our door, it's going to retract up and we're going to regain all of the ground clearance that we would have had without any running boards at all. Once the door opens, it deploys right out just like that. And this is going to be independent, meaning if somebody just needs to get out of the second row and not the first row, it'll deploy even if you open your second row doors. So the step is going to offer you a 6-inch wide platform. It does have kind of these integrated grooves to it, which is going to give us a lot of grip. And the cool thing about that is that they're built in, as opposed to a lot of running boards and Nerf bars that have step pads that often wear down and need to be replaced. And being a powder coated aluminum, they're going to be lightweight and they're going to be very durable and very corrosion and rust resistant. Another great thing about them is they're going to give you a 300-pound weight capacity, so plenty of sturdy platform for you when you're getting in and out of the truck. So if we did not have the running board on here, again, this is going to be quite a leap up on this particular truck. To get to the door threshold from the ground, we're looking at a measurement of about 31 inches. And if we take a look here, we've got this first step at about 18.5 inches. So, depending on any kind of lift that you have on your truck, or really just what size tires and things like that, go ahead and expect a 12.5-inch difference as far as where this step is going to get you to your door threshold. And another really nice safety feature about these running boards is that you do get an LED light kit. Whenever it's dark out, you're going to be able to see really well. It'll cover not just the board, but the ground around it as well, just making it a lot safer for you and your passengers. Now, we're about to show you how to get these installed. And if after watching this portion of the video, you decide that this might be a bit more than you want to take on, go ahead and check out our dealer locator right here at etrailer. It'll help you get in touch with an installer near you to help get these running boards on your F-250. So we're on the passenger side of the truck up toward the front of it. And I just wanted to show you our mounting locations for our motorized brackets. You're going to find these 3 exposed bolts right here in the front. It's going to go on just like so, but make sure you have the right bracket. All of them are stamped on the side with their location. So this is front right, that's front passenger. That's exactly where we need to be. It's going to go in right just like so. We've got pretty good clearance there as well. And what you'll need is, for each of these 3 bolts, is a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. And I'm just going to loosely thread this on right now, just kind of get all 3 of them started before I grab my 13mm wrench and my 13mm socket to get these more tightened up. And the reason you want both the wrench and the socket is because when we get to this bolt up here, it might be a little bit harder to reach with the socket. And on this one right here, we've got the motor in the way, might be a little bit difficult to reach there as well. So I would just grab both and then get these snug. You don't have to get them completely tight yet, but we do want to get them snug and make sure that our bracket stays up in place. So once you have your front bracket in place, the rear bracket's going to go on pretty much the same way. You just want to make sure you identify it with that stamp, make sure you got the right one in the right location. But while we're down here, we're also going to put up our control module, and that's going to go on our central mounting location. There are 3 mounting locations underneath the F-250. We got the front one here with this bracket, the completely rear one, that's got another bracket on it. This is where our control module is going to go. And that's going to go on just like this. You want to do it with the harness facing toward the rear. You don't want this facing the front where, you know, some gunk and things like that could come up from your tire and splatter into the connections. So make sure you got it facing rear like that. And we're going to use the same hardware that we did on our bracket. It's going to take a flat washer, lock washer, and a nut on each of those bolts. We're just going to get that loosely threaded on. These are also going to be your 13mm socket. But just go ahead and get that tightened down nice and secure. Now with our brackets and our control module in place here on the passenger side again, we're going to go ahead and mount our running boards on. Now the running boards, unlike the brackets, are not side specific, so grab either one you have in the box. And one of the things that I do want to show is that this is the underside of the running board. We're going to have these blocks that kind of slide through this T-track, and there's a couple of bolt holes in each block. That is for these bolts here, and you're going to get an included hex tool that's going to work with those. But the idea is we want to line these up with this cavity that's right here in our bracket. We're going to get that dropped in on both of our brackets, and then we're going to bolt them up through from underneath. So it can be a little bit of a hassle getting these on, especially with two of them, and they do slide kind of freely. So what I'm going to do is just bring this up and over and try and get it set into place. Now as I'm doing this, I got to kind of move under here, find that block, and then it's going to kind of drop in off of the lip of this. If you have another person to help you out, this would be a good time to do it. But now I've got this front, or this back end rather, dropped in. I'm going to come up here to the front, and I'm going to do the same thing. Like I said, it can be a little bit tricky, so be patient with this portion. If you need to get underneath, go ahead and do that. Just to kind of eye it up a little bit better if you need to. A little too far forward. If you need something to give you a little bit of extra reach in there, go ahead and grab the hex tool. Kind of use that to maneuver it around in place for you. Now with that dropped into place, you may think that going in that block it would line up our bolt holes pretty much perfectly, but that unfortunately isn't the case. So if you have a really small screwdriver or pick or something like that, go ahead and reach up in there, try to maneuver around a little bit, make sure you get those bolt holes lined up, and then you could just take one and thread it in there, just kind of get it started. And once you do that, now you don't want to tighten it down completely. We want to leave this loose so that we can maneuver our running board forward and back as needed before actually tightening it down. So just go ahead and get them started for now and keep that running board secured into place. Go ahead and do that on the back bracket as well. Again, we left these loose so we could slide our running board forward and back and adjust it the way we want to. Now, the placement that I want to have them at is going to be in a place where I'm going to be able to use as much of the running board as possible. If I put it too far forward with the door open, there's only so much room to put your foot down with the door swung open. So I've got this to the point where it covers that entire space without going too far extra. I'd actually like to have a little bit more room toward the back, toward the truck bed, so that if I need to, step up a little bit and just reach into the truck bed, it's possible that I can use some of my running board because I've got it moved back a little bit further. So where I've got it measured at, which is kind of perfect placement for me, and again, it's totally up to you, I measured from the bracket to the end of this cavity underneath the board. And I've done that at 5 inches. It's also important that you do that measurement regardless of where you put it. That way the running boards can be even on both the passenger and the driver's side. But once I get it into a place where I really like it, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up these bolts at the bottom. I'll do it by hand to start, and I'll follow it up with the provided tool. So when you have your running boards on both the driver and the passenger side installed along with your control module, it's time to move on to the really fun part, which is going to be the wiring. And we're going to start that wiring with this bundle right here. This is what's going to go into our control module here. Now they are color coded. We've got 2 of them here that look exactly the same, but they are color coded for you as they are on the harness on our control module. And the other 2 are sized appropriately, so it should be really easy to make sure you put them in the right area. The other thing we're going to find bundled up over here on our passenger side are these 2 connectors. We got a green and we've got a yellow. They're also labeled rear right and front right. So these connections here are going to go into the harness that is up here on the top of our bracket. So here we've got our connections on our control module. You can see the 2 round wires are colored red and black for us, and then we've got these 2 different sizes. So go ahead and get each of these plugged into place. Okay, so we've got all 4 of our wires connected. Make sure that you have a good full flush connection on each of them. Give a little bit of a tug, make sure that they're not coming free. But all in all, we've got good connections here. It's time to move on to our next point. All right, now at this point, I've got my front right connection, which I'm going to plug into this harness right here. That little tab will click down over the top. And this is going to be the same connection that we do back on our right bracket using the green tab that says. Now for the section for our front left and rear left mounting points here, we've got those plugged in to our brackets over here on the driver's side. And the way that we routed it through was through this cross member right here. Now it was a tight squeeze when we got up here. There were some obstacles. We were able to fish it through, however. And this is going to be a really good, secure place to do it. Just this hollowed out beam that goes right across the middle of the truck. If you find you can't access that, find another way to go around. What you want to avoid, if you can though, is definitely your transmission with all the moving parts there. And I would, even though it is heat protected, with that kind of rubberized sleeve going around it, I still think it's a good idea not to have it right up against any of your exhaust as well. So our next step is going to be to run this portion of our wiring harness from underneath the truck through a grommet that's located underneath the carpet here on the passenger side. And this is going to be making our connections up top here. So what we'll need to do is remove this portion of trim right here. You can use a panel tool if you have one available. Those make it a little bit easier on you. And now we've got this section here exposed. There are some clips here that might be holding down portions of your carpet. Just go ahead and get it out from under there. Now where we really need to get to is close to right in here somewhere. So getting a little more of that carpet up might be a good idea. You can actually remove this portion of the trim here to give you that extra leverage on the carpet. So with those 2 pieces removed, I can move my carpet back and we'll see that rubber grommet right there. So I'm just going to pull that out and I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to cut an X into it. We're going to feed this section of wire up through there and through the grommet, and then I'll pop it back into place. So through the grommet, we've got our white and black that are going to go under the carpet, up underneath the dash, and it's going to go behind the center console onto the other side, onto the driver's side. So we've already got it attached to a little fish rod here, so we're going to be able to pull that through. Our brown wire we're going to route here toward the back seat. But with all that done, we just want to make sure we run that underneath the carpet, coming out close to that corner up top. We're going to go over to the other side and pull it through to the driver's side. So, with everything run under the carpet and through to the driver's side, you can go ahead and replace the carpet here on the passenger side as well as this trim panel. We're running our brown wire right along here toward the back to where our door jamb is here. Now that brown wire is going to connect to our sensor kit. The sensor is also going to have a ground wire, which is this wire right here. And where you want to put that is through this bolt. You're going to loosen that up just enough to sandwich it right here between this metal bracket and the metal behind it. That's going to give you your ground. The prong is not intended to fit around that bolt, so don't spend time trying to make that work. It's much easier to just sandwich it right in there. And then our brown wire is going to connect to our sensor. The door sensor is going to run behind our door seal here and out the other side right here. We've got the same thing going on the second row, and what we're going to do is we're going to measure this sensor down from here to determine where we put it on our door. On our driver's side, we fished the wire through behind the center console here. We ran it just like on the passenger side, underneath the carpet, through the trim, and up to the post in our door seam right here. It connects exactly the same way. The biggest difference is that you had that black wire coming out that's going to attach to your manual switch. We loomed the rest of it up underneath the dash, but the manual switch has an adhesive backing, so you're pretty free to put it anywhere over here where you don't think you're going to bump into it or anything. So as long as it's a flat surface, you'll be able to put that right on. So with all my connections made, I've got all my extra wires tucked away in a good place. My sensors are all in place. Before I put all this together though, I do want to go through the rest of my installation. I just want to ensure everything is going to work. That way that, you know, if something isn't working properly, I don't have to go back in and take all the trim back out and pull the carpet up or do any of that to double check any of my connections. I'm going to save putting all that back together after I ensure that everything is working properly. Okay, so next step, we're going to take our LED lights. We're going to make that connection to them that was up here coming through our harness. Now, the reason I always say connect this first is because you want to make sure you've got somewhere to loom up this excess. So I don't want to put this in a place where I got nowhere for this wire to go. So once you determine a good spot for where you want to put it, we're going to put ours right about here, which I think is perfect because that's right where your feet are going to come out onto the board. But once you figure out where you want to put it, go ahead and grab a towel with some alcohol on it and clean that area off really, really well. Because it's got an adhesive backing, just like a lot of the things like our door sensors and our manual switch, we want to make sure it goes on a good clean surface and gets a good hold of it. So get that cleaned off really well, and then we can go ahead and get it stuck on there. And with our lights in place, we can run our battery connection. So we're running it right along here. We're on the passenger side, up and over this plate and up into the engine bay. So we came up through the engine bay right here. All of the excess we've got loomed together using one of the included zip ties. And then we ran it right along here. We wanted to avoid going over any of this because if you needed to change any of these parts out, you won't really have to wrestle with this wire too much. But once we did that, we've got our power line connected. And before we did any of our hookups for the power line, we removed the two 20-amp fuses that came with it. We just want to make sure we don't blow any fuses while we're doing this. So just go ahead and remove them before you make your battery connection. And we made, with our black wire, our ground connection, we made to this bolt on the side of the engine bay right here. Now that we've got those connections in place, we're going to go ahead and put the cap back on over our battery terminal there. We're going to go ahead and place the fuses, and then we'll be able to double check to make sure we've got everything working correctly. Now we can go ahead and put everything back together. We can replace our carpet, put that back into place. All of our trim pieces can go back into place in the interior. Just make sure that we're tucking those wires out of the way. And you get a large pack of zip ties with this kit. So go ahead and get under there, loom up any excess wire that might be anywhere, anything sticking out or hanging down. Make sure it's not in the way of any moving parts or parts that get too hot. And lastly, and very important, you want to go ahead and grab your torque wrench, and you want to torque the bolts according to the instructions. Each different size bolt has a different torque spec, so pay close attention and make sure you get that done accordingly. So that's a look at the Westin Pro-E running boards on our 2017 Ford F-250. And if after watching this video you've still got some questions about it, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. We would love to answer those for you. It'll help you and other neighbors just like you make the best decision for themselves. Once again, this is Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.